What's up, nerds and nerdettes and wee little nerdlings all? It's your buddy Big Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. All right, we are here for another Midday Monologue, my friends. And remember, it's not hoarding if it's board games. That is 100% true in all cases, all that in Dungeons and Dragons. So, here I am in the crickety old chair, and I'm here to tell you why I am 56 years old, my friends, this month. And why, after all these years, 48 years, why am I still absolutely in love with the Dungeons and Dragons experience? Woo, well, I mean, some of this has been covered years ago in the Who the Hell's Big Johnny G video. About 1,000 of you saw it or so, I think. I don't know. But that was years ago. But it still stands true. You see, my whole life, I wasn't into the normal guy things growing up. I had no interest in sports, no interest in camping and hunting and fishing, hiking, nothing like that. I mean, I liked science fiction. I knew that. Me and my dad used to watch Star Trek. He wasn't a big sci-fi or nerd guy at all, but he was cool. And yeah, I remember watching Star Trek and reruns as a little kid. You know, back in like 73, 74, with my dad on the weekends. And that I liked. I knew I liked that. But then it was when I was 8 years old, the summer of 1977. About a month or two before, I had just seen Star Wars in the theaters. I must have saw it about 8 times by the time August ran around. And it was August. It was August that, and I won't get into the full story again, I've mentioned it many times, but it was August that a neighborhood kid introduced me and a few of my friends, well, we were all friends, into Dungeons and Dragons. It was basic. It was interesting. I had no, I mean, come on, me and my friends until then just played like shoots and ladders and craps like that. And this mesmerized me and hooked me. And I knew that I found a couple of things that really meant something to me. Star Wars and D&D. Now, besides the experience of just playing the game, there's a sense of camaraderie that I've always felt with my buddies, my family, my pack members. You know, we sit down at the table to chuck some dice and tell some tales, Dungeons and Dragons style. There's you know, it's. I think a lot of the video gamers know what I'm talking about. You know, you play the MMOs, and you go on raids and missions, and you know, sometimes you guys have such amazing times that you know, years later, you're talking about it with your buddies that you ran the mission with. It's the same thing with D&D. It was the first game ever. Let me tell you this. There was never a board game before. Well, it's not a board game, I know, but you know what I mean. A tabletop analog style game. There was never one like that before Dungeons and Dragons, where years later, you and your friends are talking about the amazing series of adventures that you had playing this. Sure, maybe somebody talked about the 6 lucky doubles in a row or something somebody rolled in this game or that game or the other game once. But it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing as feeling, knowing that you were part of the actual story. The story made a difference because of you. You made a difference because of the story. It worked back and forth. Nothing else did that. Nothing else still really does that. Yes, some of the MMOs do. But it's such a different, more electric feeling, sensation when you're sitting at the table with your buddies. And you're getting to read body language. You're getting to step over each other's sentences because you're so excited. There's a completely different and more palpable feel when it comes to that. And that camaraderie meant a lot to me growing up. I was raised as an only child. So that became my family of things to do, so to speak. You know, something else that You kind of find in older board games, but it's to a lesser degree. I'm not saying this has never happened before. I know it has. But I'm talking about the degree to which it happens with Dungeons & Dragons. I'm talking about house rules. The idea, the concept that here is a book of rules. Use it how you will. Like pretty much every other game I played before that, the rules, which a lot of times were on the back of the inside of the board of the packaging, the box, you'd open it up and then you flip the box and the inside would be the instructions. But yeah, it was that was it. It was like, this is how you play the game. You do this, that happens, the other player does this, you do that, start over again. But Dungeons & Dragons, I never learned how to play the game properly to begin with. I never did. My first DM was a horrible dungeon master, and actually was a horrible human being too, even for a kid. But I'm not getting into that story. Again, now I've covered it in one video years ago. I'm not gonna retread that right now anyway. But yeah, he was absolutely horrible. But everything else about the game, house ruling, that's what I'm talking about. The concept of saying that these rules are a guideline. Do what works. Or even Gygax himself was quoted as saying something along the lines of the biggest secret of all is that they don't need the rules. The players don't need the rules. And it's true. It really is. But, it helps being a barracks rule lawyer, as Gygax called them, from his army days. But yeah, so that is something that's always attracted me to the game is being able to make judgment calls on rules in game, or just coming to a consensus that you're gonna not play with this rule, you're gonna alter it. I thought that was amazing. That made me feel like I was part of the game design. And I never felt that way before with any other game. Now, there's also this whole sensation of being part of an ongoing story. Maybe it's because of my love of things like, stories, like Star Trek and Lord of the Rings and even Marvel comic books. Maybe that is where I'm getting it from, but the idea that there's this ongoing story, you just don't, it's not like Monopoly, Parcheesi, where the game is always put in the box, put it back in the closet shelf, and forget it about it, for another several weeks or months or whenever you have another game night coming up. No, with Dungeons & Dragons, it's like, it's a cereal. No, not that you eat. Like a serialized adventure, like a soap opera. It's a complete soap opera. It's a soap opera for fantasy nerds. And we're a part of it. We're growing that story. The story is presented to the Dungeon Master, who presents it to us. We tell the Dungeon Master, or they tell me what's going on, and I alter things based on that information. Because they're doing this, that would alter that. So now this is going to happen in its place. I love that. It's a form of creation. We're working on taking this module, taking this adventure seed, and turning it into a story, turning it into an epic, mythic tale of old. Man, how could you not love that? I mean, if it could have had any other name, Dungeons & Dragons should have been called The Never-Ending Story. Because even more so than that book and the sequel, it is a never-ending story. It only ends when you're done with it. It never ends until you are done with it. Understand the difference? I love that. And also, quite frankly, I love being a DM. I love that more than being a player. I love being able to lay down this story, lay down these plots, and see what my friends do, see what the players do, see how they interact with this. And then I have a basic seed of a knowledge of how other individuals around them, the NPCs, are going to react and act, and we work together on this. I love even the amount of time it takes to be a DM, which is one reason why there's so few of us, not in the money. But yeah, the time that's setting up the adventures, writing out the notes. And if you're like me, you do the table builds, I mean, my table builds take an average of 3 days. If I got to do a double wide build, I'm looking at all week if I'm working on 2 tables together. I love it. I love doing the work. I love having the work completed. I love the look on their eyes when they come through the game room door and they see it for the first time. All of these things, everything. I love being a DM. I was born to be a DM.